Hello, everyone. Welcome back to the second video on Andor. If you haven't seen the first one yet, the card is right up here in the corner, but it's definitely not required to enjoy this one. It seems like a lot of people liked the first video, which makes me very happy to see and makes me very excited for the future of this channel. So if that's something that you're interested in seeing, be sure to hit that like and subscribe button down below. Thank you. On with the video. Any good hero has to have a good antagonist. Dejamiro, while seemingly completely disconnected from Cassian Andor, works as a perfect foil for him throughout his journey to success. I was thinking about doing a video that comparing how Dedra works, whereas someone like Riva fails. So drop a comment if that's something that you'd like to see. Even the secondary and background characters are handled in such a way that's just so much more impressive than any of the other recent Star Wars stories. Take someone like Lonnie, the rebel spy who's working for the Imperials undercover. Let's compare them to someone very similar, Tala from Kenobi, who is also a rebel spy working for the Imperials undercover. In a few very simple lines, we get everything that we need to know about Lonnie. He's been undercover for years. He works for Luthen. He's a father to a newborn daughter, and he's fed the rebels a lot of information that has led to a lot of small victories. But being a father changes you. And now he doesn't want to put his family at risk anymore, which is completely understandable. However, Luthen is not going to let him go that easily. He has one last info drop to give to Luthen before he quits his job. He warns Luthen of an incoming attack, one that could get 50 or so men killed and could be easily avoided. And he is appalled, just like anyone would be, when Luthen says that he isn't going to stop it. He isn't going to call off the raid. He isn't going to save those 50 men's lives. Luthen even manages to convince him to keep feeding information to the rebels, something that I'm absolutely sure is going to come back to bite him in season 2. Then let's look at Tala. In the first few seconds that we meet Tala, she immediately kills a group of stormtroopers, which should immediately blow her cover and completely make her imperial status null, as she should now be branded as an abject traitor to the Empire. And then later in the series, we see her once again using her Imperial code to get into Fortress Inquisitorius, which shouldn't work because she should either be written down as a traitor to the Empire or she should be marked as dead with the rest of her squad. The only backstory that we get for Tala is that she became disillusioned with the Empire and joined the Path, which just isn't nearly as compelling or interesting or give us any sort of detail comparable to what we get in Andor. I mean, yeah, she shows kindness to Obi-Wan and Leia and trying to help them make their escape, but overall, she's just not as compelling of a character as someone like him. And then her story ends when she sacrifices herself to blow up a few stormtroopers, but it ends up not really serving the rebellion at all in what she does because it doesn't stop them. It doesn't really stop their progress whatsoever, as well as the fact that it just doesn't hit emotionally because we don't know anything about this character. We're not emotionally invested in her. We have no reason to really like or care about her. She's more of just a plot device to help Kenobi get from place to place and find his connection with the early rebellion. We don't really get anything to make us care about her as a character. She's just a good guy for the sake of being a good guy, and that's all that we get. And even within that, we don't see her come into conflict with anyone. We immediately see the spy from Andor come into conflict with Luthen, and that gives both of them a deeper characterization because we can see how they both react differently to the same situation, and that shows us how they're two very different people and how they're two different living humans who make their own decisions and don't just do things because it's the right thing to do. Finally, let's talk about some thematic messaging in the show. How this show handles the nuance and the gray morality of things like the rebellion is just, it's so indicative of the amount of thought that went into this show. In this show, you're not going to get, oh, this guy is evil because he wears a black suit and he has scary music. And this guy's good because he wears white and always does the right thing, which I know Star Wars basically invented, but you know what I'm saying. Regardless, you can't look at these characters and know what they're going to do, know all of the decisions that they're going to make, because there is nuance, there is individual motivations other than just doing the right thing. And even if they do align with the good guys or the bad guys, They all have their own motivations and reasonings. It's never just as simple as because it's the right thing to do. Listen, I'm all for doing the right thing, but we all know that real people, real people have deeper motivations than that. It's never that cut and dry. And those motivations can lead to both good and bad outcomes, even though they all come from a very real, very human place. Even good intentions can have bad outcomes, like Cyril Karn, who just wanted to keep the peace, but ended up becoming a conduit for the evils of the empire. Or on the opposite side of the spectrum, we have someone who has done a great deal of evil in the name of good. Luthen Royale. In my opinion, the best character in this show. Possibly. No, I can't say in all of Star Wars. I can't. He can't be better than Obi-Wan, not yet. I'll have to wait to season 2. Maybe he will be. He does a lot of great things that will eventually liberate the people of the galaxy from the tyranny of the Empire. But looking at his actions, he is objectively just a terrible person. He's selfish, disloyal, and the big one, he's willing to sacrifice anyone who is no longer of use to him. He's constantly playing a numbers game of whose life is more valuable, logically weighing all of his decisions in reference to this concept, this idea of the rebellion. In the end, we, the audience, know that this will lead to platforming people like Luke Skywalker so that he can go in there with an X-Wing and blow up the Death Star. But in universe, no one knows that. All of this could be for nothing. All of this sacrifice, all of these lives lost, all of these lives given up by people in charge who frankly don't care about the individual. He could be letting so many people die for what amounts to absolutely nothing, which, coupled with his deplorable actions, make a lot of characters all the more weary of him, understandably so. While they trust him because he gets good results, his methods are less than stellar. Luthen works as a proper antithesis to so many other characters, highlighting all of their traits as they come into conflict with his. For example, his discussions with Mon Mothma about the credits, or with Vel about their plot to kill Andor, or even with Saw Gerrera, of all people, about letting the rebels walk into the Empire's trap. Personally, I'm not really a big fan of Saw Gerrera. I feel like he just always comes off as the crazy, unhinged guy and makes a lot of emotional and reckless decisions that are just never the right choice. So if you would have told me that we would have gotten a character more extreme than Saw Gerrera, I would have laughed at you. But here we are. And he's one of the greatest things that Star Wars has given us as of late. Luthen is logical, calculated, and egotistical. Luthen opens up so much for the story of Star Wars as a whole, whether it's a flipped script where he's the villain and we get to see some of the good souls within the Empire, or just watch him come into conflict with the rest of the rebels. The gray area opens up such a multitude of options for storytelling that's been hereto unexplored. The movement away from this side, that side in Star Wars is something that I really hope we get a lot more of, because it just opens up the universe so much more and allows so many different, more diverse and rich stories to be told. So, those are my thoughts on Andor. Needless to say, it is most definitely my favorite of the Disney Star Wars shows, and I cannot wait for season 2. After the slew of garbage that was the last few shows, this has been beyond a breath of fresh air. Let's just hope that they can keep the ball rolling. If you'd like to see a video comparing Deidre and Reva on how to make a villain sympathetic but also threatening, let me know in the comments. And subscribe for more content. See you in the next one.